Welcome to this video where we're going to try and explain the image produced in a plane mirror. So we've got an overhead camera looking vertically down at a piece of paper and our object here, which is a little LED, and we've got a second camera looking in from the side, and hopefully you can see the image formed in the mirror. So the first thing that I'm going to do is briefly replace the mirror with a piece of glass. And what this is going to allow us to do is to have a partial reflection from the piece of glass, and with that partial reflection I should be able to mark on where the image is actually on the piece of paper. And hopefully you can see that the little red image of the LED is here, so I'm going to put a little circle there and label that image. I'm now going to go back to having my actual mirror in position, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to replace the object, which is the real LED here. I'm going to also replace that with a little mark on the bit of paper, and I'm going to label that as the object. So what I'm going to try and do now is demonstrate how we can make a ray diagram to prove that the image forms in the position that we've actually marked on the piece of paper. So I'm going to get rid of my main object and turn off my second camera. Over here was where I had my camera. So to represent the camera, which was like us looking, I'm now going to draw in a large eye. So let's draw in a large eye like that. Now, to represent the light going from the object, I'm going to use a ray box, which will send out a ray coming from the object, reflecting on the mirror and going into the eye. So that I can draw it in afterwards, I'm going to put a couple of crosses on each of the rays here, and then I will be able to draw that in afterwards to show where it went. And now I'm going to I could pick loads of different possible rays starting from the object and going into the eye, but I'm going to pick this one, and to make it possible for me to mark this one in, I'm going to do little spots, which is maybe not as accurate, but will let me distinguish between the two when I'm drawing them in afterwards. And so now what I can do is I can remove that ray box. So I'm going to remove the mirror out of the way completely. This line down here was representing the mirror, and normally you would put these little hash symbols or little lines going to indicate the side which wasn't shiny. So let me put those on and label this up as the mirror. And now I can draw in the rays which I showed with the ray box. So I can draw this one coming to the mirror, reflecting from the mirror and going into the eye. So that was my first one, and I can put an arrow to show it reflecting that way. I can now choose do the same thing for my second ray, starting from the object, going through those 2 points that I marked, hitting the mirror and then reflecting into the eye, and put the arrows on that to show which way they're going. And now I can add in my virtual rays, and these I have to put the ruler alongside the reflected ray, and then I can do my dotted or dashed lines going back to show where the virtual ray goes, and do the same thing for my other reflected ray. So put the ruler alongside it and do dashed lines to show my virtual rays. And this is what your brain interprets is happening, that the light has traveled in a straight line. And hopefully you can see that these two virtual rays cross roughly where we had marked the image was. So that shows how you can go from a real situation of a plane mirror and go to a ray diagram to show why the image forms in this position.